to kind of look into happiness, the first case we're going to go into today is the Roseto Town mystery.
I'm actually familiar with this one because a course that I was a teaching assistant for at McGill University. Shout out to Dr. Sabetti. Love you so much. He's the best professor ever. And I loved working for him. And we actually taught this case to our students. So I'm really excited to hear your perspective on it.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was your undergrad or if it was at McGill.
Yeah, it was at McGill.
So I will go through the description of the town and what happened in the town for all of you that don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So Roseto was a small Italian town in Pennsylvania with a population of roughly 1,500 people. The town was discovered in the
I'm just going to pause for a second. Is it Rosetta or Roseto?
Roseto. Did I say Roseto?
Yeah.
Roseto is a small Italian town in Pennsylvania with a population of roughly 1,500 people. And that population has stayed static since like the 1950s. All right. Now it's more, but for a while it was static. And the town was discovered in the 1960s by a doctor by the name of Stuart Wolf. He's the head of medicine at the University of Oklahoma. And what Wolf was interested in Roseto. I keep saying Roseto.
I think first we should just clarify for people listening that we're calling it an Italian town because it had a large immigrant population from Italy. Yes. And the town wasn't discovered by this doctor, but this phenomenon that was occurring in the town was discovered by him.
Yes. It wasn't it wasn't the city of Olympus.
Well, you never know. People might be confused. Trust me, students were confused.
Fair enough. Yeah, I could see students being like, what? So what's interesting about Roseto was that it has an extremely low rate of heart attacks compared to the rest of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some facts that I actually found from the 1960s. So the 1960s actually had the highest rate of death from heart disease at almost 400 deaths per 100,000 people.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah, so put it into terms of the entire population in the United States, around 300,000, that's 1.2 million people per year. So it's a pretty big number.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what the death rate was in Roseto?
Please enlighten me.
So the death rate for people over 65 was 1% in Roseto. And the rest of the United States, it was 2%. So again, that doesn't seem like much of a difference or a big number. But for 300,000 people, 2% is 6 million, 1% is 3 million.
300 million people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're recording this really late at night, so numbers are hard.
So, what's special about Roseto is that they did not seem to have healthy lives. When you looked at the habits, they contradicted what a healthy individual should be doing.
Too much Italian pasta.
Nom, 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 nom.
Oh boy.
It's late. Quite a few of them smoked and they drank a lot of wine. They also ate high carb foods cooked in fats and with lots of cheese. So I could live there.
Yeah, let's go. We basically do live there. We live in our own mini version without the wine.
Yeah. We live in a cheesery.
Yep.
So the other thing too is that they worked, it was near a slate quarry. So it's like very dusty in those kind of places, mm-hmm. Bad for the lungs, mm-hmm. Real bad. So obviously there should be higher rates of like disease in general for that. But
mm-hmm.
it actually makes me think of, and did I ever tell you about that moon sand in Fort McMurray?
No, I don't think so.
So I was working at a company up north in Fort McMurray, and I was in a desulfurization unit, and there was this like byproduct that was everywhere in the whole building, and I called it moon sand because when you stepped in it, you didn't even feel it move away from your feet. And it was kind of cool. So I'd like step in it, but
Just Julian.
one small step for oil. No? Like on the moon?
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway,
Crickets.
they were they have these things called norms in them. Normally occurring radioactive materials.
Nice. Yeah. Good memory.
So they're really bad for you, and I guess there was like a bunch of people that got cancer in that unit.
Oh, that's
I was
sad.
like, I don't want to move. I don't want to work in this unit if I'm like intentionally putting my way there. So anyway.
Good side story.
So why did Roseto have such lower death rates due to heart diseases?
Why? Why?
Wolf believed that the lower disease rate was because of lower stress levels. What was different in Roseto? The community was very close with each other. They cooked with each other, they worked together, and everyone was respected in their own ways. So I'd say that's pretty uncommon.
Well, especially now, like it's interesting to me that this was such a phenomenon back in the 60s.
When there was a lot of smaller towns, you mean? Or?
Yeah, because I feel like, at least for me, when I think back to what I imagine life looked like in the 60s, I feel like it would have been really community oriented, and you would have had a lot more like neighborhood cookouts and kids playing on the streets and all of that kind of stuff that you just picture when you think about that time period, which I know is not actually reality of what it is. There's a lot of really crappy stuff going on, but I just think about like the time before technology was so evolved that people were spending a lot more time together in the community. And so it's just interesting that like I could see nowadays, if there was a community that was like really actively together, that really would stand out from how society is here now. So I guess what I think this is really speaking to is the idea of what community looks like in Italy and across Europe versus in North America, that there really was a substantial difference between how this community came together in this with their Italian roots versus how so even though Americans were maybe somewhat together by our standards of things, they clearly weren't by the Italian or European standard.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like Clondonald, I felt growing up there.
Which is where Julian's from. Very tiny little hamlet, or...
I think there used to be 200 people there. I don't know. It's probably 50. School just closed down. But growing up there, it felt like a pretty close community. Like everyone knew everyone. Like you knew that little old lady that lived on that one corner block and everyone went to go see her kind of thing. But actually I was just thinking about it, is that in our area, there's a lot of immigrants. Like my family's Ukrainian, French, but around that area is a lot of Ukrainians. So maybe that's part of why, is because there was a bunch of immigrants came over together, and that's why they're a little closer.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same idea then. Instead of it being Italian immigrants, it was Ukrainian immigrants who came together to create this sort of community.
Yeah.
We should get someone to see what their health is like there.
Well, I'm feeling amazing. I guess I don't live there anymore. But another thing that even just like the size or population of a place, there's probably a limit to when you can humanize everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the town was so small, you treated everyone like a person, but at some point you can't care about everyone.
Yeah, I think like basically what you're saying is that you can't have those really authentic, genuine interactions with so many people. So as people start moving to this community, or as it starts expanding, eventually that really community orientedness is going to break off into like subgroups.
Yes. Interesting. So Wolf did a follow-up study in 1992, and at that time the town had become less cohesive, more Americanized. So exactly what we're talking about. More nuclear families. I think that's the word, right? Where it's just a single family.
Yeah. Well, so it wasn't nuclear families before?
I just mean so that they were all like, it's kind of like a village is raising the kid. You know what I mean? That's what I thought.
Okay,
Pictured
because like
it
a
as.
nuclear family means like a man and a wife and their kids.
Yeah, that's what I mean now. Is that it's more just them. That's their family.
Yeah, I
They
know,
care
but
about
people
themselves.
usually refer to a nuclear family when they're speaking about a family that is not inclusive of like same gendered parents and stuff. So it's a little...
Okay. I didn't know that. Good to know.
Well, it's like when you talk about a nuclear family, you're talking about like the old school family, which is not accepting to those different kind of structure dynamics.
Okay. That's good to know. I didn't know that. But with this less cohesive society town, the mortality rate increased. Yeah. So I'm guessing they had more stress and in turn more or decreases in health, physical health, I guess. So